Hello, I am Jessie, the Sleepy Koala, and today I am extremely excited because I bring you a brand new original book tag. For those of you who are new, welcome. To those of you who are returning, welcome back. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know what you think of this new tag and to let me know some of your answers. Finally, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time I post a new video. On with the video, shall we? I have a new tag, a brand new tag, which I created myself, and I am incredibly pleased with it. I've been wanting to do a tag for a while and have just had no idea what to do it on. And I decided I would just go back to my roots, to what I know best, and that is the Cosmere. The Cosmere, for those of you who don't know, is the connected universe of worlds in Brandon Sanderson's adult books. We have got many books now on different planets, which all have different cultures, different makeups, different magics, and it's all very exciting. So I thought, what if I take those planets and I put them into a tag video with themed questions for each planet? So that is what I did. This tag has 11 questions, and then the 12th question is the standard tags and friends. But without further ado, let me introduce 11 different worlds from Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. Prompt number 1, Roshar. Name a book with fantastical world building. So Roshar is probably one of the most unique planets that Brandon has come up with so far. It is completely made of stone except for a small part of it known as Shinovar, which does have dirt. The grass retracts into the ground. The trees sometimes fall over on purpose because there is this giant storm that crosses the entire continent every couple of days and leaves destruction in its wake. It is incredible world building. It is really, really interesting. And I highly recommend the Stormlight Archive, for many, many reasons, but particularly because of the world building. It is just really, really cool. Another book that has really cool world building is Shadow and Bone. And this is part of, that's very shiny. This is part of the Grishaverse. I'm really interested in the world building in Shadow and Bone, the book in particular, because in this book, you have the country Ravka, which has been split down the middle by what is known as the Fold. The Fold is this giant, vast patch of darkness that covers an entire slice of the country, and it is full of darkness, it is full of monsters, and it is really hard to get across and really dangerous to cross. I'm rewatching the Shadow and Bone TV show with my husband at the moment, which I absolutely love. I love that show so much, and I will eventually read the book as well. And just the way the Fold is set up, it just is so well done, and it just creates such an interesting political problem for the country, because then you've got part of the country that's cut off that's now thinking of revolution, and of course the king and queen don't want that. So there's some very interesting political implications because the country is split in half because of this. There is also wars going on, I think, with both the Fjordans in the north and the Shuhan in the south, or there's at least animosity. So the country of Ravka is really kind of boxed in, and to make it worse, it's cut down the middle. I find this fascinating, and I really do look forward to reading these books so I can learn more about the story, but also more about the world building, because I do love the Grishaverse and this world. Prompt number 2, Scadrial. Name a book that combines magic with technology. Now, without getting too into spoilers, Era 2 Mistborn. There's 2 eras of Mistborn now. There's a completed trilogy and a soon-to-be completed quadrilogy. The quadrilogy is set after the first trilogy, and in it they have reached about the turn of the 20th century technology level. and they're starting to combine magic with it. And they come up with some really interesting and unique designs of what they can do by combining the magic of Scadrial with the technology level that they have. Now, I can't go really any more into it, but particularly in the third Era 2 book, Bands of Mourning, there's some very interesting technology in that book that comes up. Another book that combines magic with technology is Foundryside, which I read recently and loved and binge read, and just, this is such a good series. I really, really like it. And one of the things I like about it is the magic system. The magic system in this involves telling an object to change itself, to change its identity somehow, to be different, to do something else, to do something better. And they do this using these sigils and what's known as scribing to change how the object sees itself so it acts differently. So this could mean you have doors that will only open for very certain keys and will not open on any other occasion, that are harder to break through, they're harder to break down. You can also have objects who think the gravity goes in a different direction and the down is a different way now. Or things that are connected so that when something happens to one thing, the other object, which thinks it's the first object, also does that thing separately. It's really cool. It's really interesting. It is a bit confusing. I did get a bit confused with the magic in this, but I also loved it completely. Prompt number 3, Nalthis. Name a book with a colorful cover. Nalthis is a place where color is built into the magic system, and the magic uses color to be able to animate things and do other things as well. I've always imagined that Nalthis would just be like the most colorful place that you could see because of this. And because of that, I wanted to do the prompt where there is a book with a colorful cover. And for that, I am going to choose The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. In this book, there is a girl who sacrifices herself to the sea in lieu of somebody else, I believe, and finds out that there is another world beneath the ocean and she's not actually about to be eaten by sea monsters or demons, I think, because she was meant to someone's sacrifice. It is one that I would quite like to read, and I think the cover is gorgeous. Like, I would definitely cover buy this because I just can't get over how pretty this cover is. And it is incredibly colorful as well. Prompt number 4, Cell. Name a debut novel. Brandon's first book, Elantris, is set on the planet known as Cell. Hence, I wanted to go for another debut novel. And for that, I am going with A Tale of Magic by Christopher Colfer. Christopher Colfer is an actor who is well known for playing Kurt Hummel on Glee. And I was very into Glee when it was coming out, and I still really like the music and listen to it a lot. So I remember when this book was first coming out and I was really interested in reading it, but I never got around to doing so. But then a couple of months ago, I found this for dirt cheap in a secondhand shop. So I bought it and now I'm going to eventually read it. And it just sounds like it's going to be really nice and probably light and fantastical and magical. And that is everything that I would want from a book called A Tale of Magic. Prompt number 5, Threnody. Name a spooky book. Threnody is a planet where people live in what is known as the Forest of Hell, and there are ghosts known as shades that will kill people at nighttime, and there's a bunch of rules to try and stop people from getting themselves killed, and it all round sounds like quite the horror fest. And is probably the closest thing to horror that Brandon's written while in the Cosmere at the very least. Now, I am not much of a horror reader, and by much I mean at all a horror reader, so I don't have very many things to choose from for this prompt. But last year I did try and read or listen to The Sandman, and I found out relatively quickly that I am not a person for body horror. I'm not good with it, and this book is what really showed me that nope, not a big person for body horror, but is probably the closest to a horror book that I have read. I will say that I was listening to it on Audible, and they have like a full cast ensemble. It's excellent. Like, I do highly recommend it as an audiobook. Definitely just not the type of story for me. And also, I do remember there was one part where there was just, lots of violence and murder happening, and I happened to be on a walk at like 6 a.m. and it's completely dark, and I'm walking down a street with abandoned little houses on it, and it was not the ambience I was after. Prompt number 6, Yolen. Name a book that shattered you. Yolen is not actually a planet that we have seen on screen. It is kind of known about in the meta story of the Cosmere and is the original planet of the shardic vessels that took up the shards of Nalthis when he was shattered at the shattering. Hence the question about being shattered. And for this one, I do actually have to go with Brandon Sanderson book because Oathbringer, it tore out my heart and squeezed it hard. There were some very heart-wrenching moments in this book, and it really did shatter me. That ending was incredible, and I was just a sobbing mess through so much of it. Like, there is 2 scenes in this book that just clearly stand out to me as they will destroy me every time I read it, and I just have to accept that. So I go with Oathbringer. I can't really talk much about what's in this book because it is the 3rd book in the series, but again, Stormlight Archives, fantastic series, and I do highly recommend it. Prompt number 7, Vax. Name a book that is not well known. So I'm kind of taking a stand with this question, because we don't actually know if Vax is a planet. There's very solid theories that people think the Vax is a planet, myself included. So I'm taking a stand and saying the Vax is a planet in terms of this Cosmere planet tag. It's very not well known. It's mentioned twice. There are 2 mentions of the word Vax in the entirety of the Cosmere, and one of them came out in the 10th anniversary edition of Elantris and wasn't even there in the original version. So a book that is not well known, or at least I don't think this is well known, is Wildwood Dancing. The author, I believe, is quite well known, and I'm gonna butcher her name, but Juliet Marielle, I believe. I think she's quite well known. She has a lot of books out, but I think this one's one of the less well known ones, and it is one that I love. This is a book of 6 sisters, I believe, in Romania who cross over every night into the land of the Fae to partake in dancing and drinking and eating and just general ballroom partying before returning to their lives. I believe it's a couple of different fairy tale retellings combined in this, but I loved it so much. I highly recommend it. It is a great story of love, of friendship, of family, and it's just got such a good vibe to it, and I do love when we have Fae. But I think this book is not as well known as the rest of Juliet Marielle's works, so I'm going to go with Wildwood Dancing. Question number 8, Taldain. Name a book with 2 halves. Now this can be anything that comes in 2s, so 2 POVs, 2 prominent places, 2 time periods, that type of thing. Just 2 different halves to it. The reasoning being for this is Taldain, the planet, is split into 2 halves. You have Dayside and Nightside. The graphic novels for White Sand, which is the book set on Taldain, all take place on Dayside, I believe, and we don't know anything, or we know very little about Nightside at this point in time. But hopefully, at some point in the future, we might get more Taldain lore about what goes on the dark side of the planet, because that would be very interesting. For this prompt, I have chosen the book Children of Time. This book has got 2 prominent storylines that follows through pretty much the entire book until they kind of combine at the end. One of them is of the last humans looking for a new place to live, and the other is of this planet that was once treated as a potential habitat for humanity, but the experimentation went wrong, and what has lived on this planet since is not what the scientists initially intended. There is a lot of praise for this book, and I can see why. It didn't fully jive with me. Like, I thought it was fine, but that was about it. But it is very interesting to have the two different perspectives of the book constantly overlapping each other, and you just wonder how and when they will converge and what will happen when they do. Prompt number 9, First of the Sun. Name a book with animals in it. So First of the Sun is from the short story Six of the Dusk, where there is an archipelago of sorts where there can be found all of these magical birds called aviar that give certain powers to people. And there are certain trappers or hunters that will go to these islands at different points throughout the year looking for the birds, I think, and taking care of them. It's been a very long time since I read Six of the Dusk, and I think I've read it once. So I'm not 100% up to date on my lore there with Six of the Dusk. But the thing with Six of the Dusk is we have the aviar. They are the iconic birds in the story. They are animals. So therefore, name a book with animals in it. The book I'm going to go for is Water for Elephants, which is set in a circus back in the 1940s, I think. Actually, the 1930s. I checked the back of the book. In this book, there are many animals, but there is a central elephant of the book named Rosie, who is such a sweetheart that they have to take care of. And I loved like all the scenes with Rosie, and just to see how Jacob and Marlena like treated the animals so much better than some of the other people did. And it is like quite a snapshot of like some of the animal cruelty that definitely happened in circuses back in the day. So trigger warning for animal cruelty going into this book. But I do love Rosie, and I do love the other animals in this book as well. So for the prompt of a book with animals in it, I will go with Water for Elephant. Prompt number 10, Braize. Name a book about war. Braize is a planet that is in the same system as Roshar and is without, I don't even know how much I can say without spoilers. There is a lot to do with war and this planet and the cycle that happens that it is involved in, let's say. So without saying much more, because I don't want to get into spoilers, what is a book that I could choose that is about war? The Puppy War. This one seems like a pretty obvious choice. One that I have still yet to read, but will get to maybe eventually. I was planning on reading it a couple of months ago, but I just decided not to because I wasn't in the right mood for it. And now I'm like, when will I ever get to this? I don't know very much about this book, except that it's meant to be quite dark. And it is obviously about war. And it is Asian inspired as well. I think it's actually based off a real event. I'm not 100% sure. If you know, let me know down in the comments, because I'm not sure. But for this prompt, I'm going to go with the Poppy War because it is about war. Finally, prompt number 11, Ashyn. Name a book about broken peoples. Now, Ashyn is another planet in the Rosharan system, and this, I think, is mostly from Wobs, but the planet is mostly destroyed and, like, broken up. And there's a little bit more to it, but I won't go into that. God, some of these planets are actually really hard to talk around without, like, going into spoilers about things. But also, to give some more context, broken peoples could be in so many different ways. You could have a broken family, you could have a corrupt society, like physically broken world, just broken in some sense. And for that, I go with the 5th season, which is all about breaking the world. In this book, we have a catastrophic event that happens right at the beginning of the book that sets off the 5th season. And these seasons are caused by catastrophic events that basically destroy like large chunks of the planet and the world. It's got incredible world building in it, and it's really fascinating world building. I really enjoyed reading the 5th season, and I really do want to reread the whole series again sometime soon. But if we're going to talk about broken peoples and broken worlds, the 5th season is right up there. And finally, we have the last question to tag some people. So let's get on it, shall we? I would like to tag Elle from Bibbidi Bobbidi Books, Pete from Pondering of Pete, Kate from The Almost Book Doctor, Isa from Fun Fantasy Books, Patrick Leo, Chatty the Mad Chatter, Drew from Drew's Book Reviews, and Andrew from Andrew's Wistly Reads. And of course, if you wish to do this tag, please do. I would be thrilled to have people join me on this Cosmere Books tag and have hopefully a lot of fun with it. But that is everything from me today. I hope you had fun. I definitely did have fun. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and to subscribe and like this video. I will see you all next time. Bye!